Welcome back, AgriScience students. As promised, we're going to be taking a look at some of the safety things that are involved as far as agricultural engineering goes. We're going to be looking at some of the colors that you often see, not just in a shop type of a setting, but you also might see some of these same colors along the highway. You also might see some of these same colors in a hospital or some other type of facility where they would have safety equipment. And pretty much the colors mean the same thing regardless of whether you are on the highway or whether you're in an agricultural shop. So whenever we're looking at safety awareness and some principles that you need to be familiar with as far as safety, of all the farm related accidents that there are, about half of them are going to involve working with machinery. So one of your assignments during this unit actually has you watch a safety video and look at some of the practices that take place during that video and some ways that they could have actually been safer. There is no such thing as completely safe. The definition of safety is developing an environment free from danger, risk, or injury. But this is actually impossible because even if you are in a padded room, you could trip over your own feet. So there is no such thing as being 100% safe, but we want to do it as much as we possibly can. And in order to make sure we do that as well as possible, in a shop type setting, we would want to make sure that everyone was trained properly on the tools that you're going to be using. We would want to make sure that everybody has passed a safety test, and that's why you had to do a safety test at the beginning of the semester, because we want you to be safe not only in a shop type setting, but also at the barn and in the greenhouse. So that's one of the reasons why we do have you do a safety test at the beginning of each semester. We want to make sure that we keep the shop clean, and we want to make sure that we are taking out any unnecessary hazards. Oily rags that are left lying in a pile can actually spontaneously combust, so we don't want anything like that to happen. We want to make sure that we are keeping things as clean and safe as possible and not piling those things up. We also want to make sure that the machinery that we're using has safety shields in place and that we are actually utilizing those safety shields. I've seen people many times remove or bypass a safety shield because it makes the work that they're doing easier, and I do understand that, but those safety shields are there for a reason. They're there to keep you healthy. um, a couple other things, we have learned a lot about personal protective equipment throughout the pandemic. We've learned a lot about the meaning of PPE, but basically you want to make sure that you are using the proper PPE whenever you work in a shop type setting. It's always important and necessary that you use safety glasses or goggles whenever you are working in a shop type setting. Even just a hammer and nail type situation can cause you to have some pretty severe eye injuries, because if you're like me and you've hit a nail before, sometimes they pop out and you don't know where they're going to go to. So if you don't hit those exactly squarely, or you're trying to nail into a knot, sometimes they can cause difficult situations. You might need leather steel-toed shoes. That's not an always a have-to type of thing, but for sure closed-toed shoes. But leather steel-toed shoes are kind of the ultimate protection for your feet. Hearing protection. Earplugs are pretty cheap and easy to attain. If you have um, something that is above 90 decibels, it can cause hearing loss. And so when you're looking at using a lot of saws and equipment, a lot of these things do get to be very loud. And so it's important to use hearing protection. And you may have to have other safety clothing depending on what it is that you're doing. If you are welding, you have sparks flying and metal that could be chipping off and getting into your clothing. So you want to make sure that you are dressed appropriately for something like that. So kind of depends on what you're working with, the type of PPE that you would actually need. Now, the safety color coding, there are several national organizations that work together to develop the system. That's why typically whenever you see something that is green, it's going to be a safe type thing. It's going to be an okay type thing. And that's why most of the time when you see something red, it kind of alerts you. So the American Society of Agricultural Engineers and the Safety Committee of the American Vocational Association came up with these safety colors in order to alert people to different dangers and hazards and to help provide them some sort of a quick bit of information just by glancing at a color. If you think about red, red is going to indicate some place that is going to be a dangerous type of situation. For me, I'm not always in a shop type situation, but I do drive every day, and so a lot of times when I think about these colors, I think about the colors based on what I see on the highway. And so when I think about a stop sign, it's red. A stoplight, it's red. Fire trucks are red. This is going to indicate that there's some sort of a danger type of situation, and usually you're going to see these things on safety switches and fire extinguishers in order to be able to help you find those things quickly. So red is going to be one of the probably most recognizable colors that you see as far as safety codes are concerned. Orange typically is going to designate some sort of machine. And maybe hazards on a machine, such as edges of a machine or openings in a machine that you could get caught up in. It may also be used as background for electrical switches, levers, controls. A lot of times when you see orange, you're thinking about warning. So, again, thinking about going down the highway, typically, if there is somebody that's doing road construction, you will see the signs for road construction and they will be in orange because they're not there all the time. They're there to warn you that there's something that's ahead that you're not typically used to seeing. Typically, traffic cones and traffic barrels are also orange as red, so they're going to help you to know that there is a hazard ahead. It's also a warning. Yellow is for caution. Most of the times when you're driving down the highway, you see yellow signs that are permanent. You don't typically see people taking up and down yellow signs. Usually, the yellow signs are there to let you know that it may be a particular area where you need to look out for something in particular. Doesn't mean it's always there, but it does mean that it is something you need to be cautious about. Typically, wheels, levers, and knobs that help to control machines are going to be yellow. So when I think about blue, I think about information. When I'm riding down the highway and I look at the signs on the highway, when I think about the blue ones, I think about the ones telling me where a gas station is, or telling me where a hospital is, or telling me where a rest area is. So typically, those are going to be special information. You may use a blue sign on a piece of equipment that is out of order, something that's broken, it's not working properly. So blue is typically going to be used to give you some sort of information. Green typically means safety. And so when you're on the highway and you're riding down the road, most of your interstate signs that tell you where the exits are and all that kind of stuff are just green safety type signs, and they're just to help you know where you're going and get to the proper place with some direction. So green is going to be a safety color, and so that's one that you can normally think about as something that is that it's okay for you to proceed. So those are the safety colors. In your assignment that you have for colors, I want you to think about places where you see these different safety colors every day. And did a little bit of explaining to the students who were face to face, but as you're doing the assignment and you're thinking about things that you see that are these safety colors, we're not looking at the meaning of colors as far as, blue means tranquil and red means hot. We're looking at safety colors, not necessarily the meaning of colors. So make sure that you understand that as you are doing this assignment. So think about things in everyday life where you see different colors. And next time we will start looking at fire safety.